Story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing.
Good morning, and welcome to Story Time. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing today? Glad we're back together again. Another story. Yes, indeed. More time to learn with each other and to remind each other, of course, of what we can do to play our part in our community. A good part indeed. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time. Glad you're here with me, and welcome to today's story, which will be I Am My History. And this one is by Brian Keith Harris and, of course, CJ Love. Thank you so much for joining in. I am glad you're here for this one. It is written by an amazing educator out there doing his amazing work at his school and in his community. Thank you so much, Brian, for everything that you do, and of course for this wonderful book as well. CJ Love, amazing art. Thank you, appreciate you. Good morning to you, and welcome to Story Time. Please let us know where you're joining in from and who is joining in with you as we continue to celebrate Black History Month on Storytime this week. Thank you so much for joining in. Glad you're here. Please, if you have any recommendations, any messages you'd like us to send out there, please do let us know. Send them to us, and we will do our very best to get them out there. Thank you so much for joining in. Glad you're here. And also, if you're a small business owner, please get in touch. Let me know so we can help spread the message of what you're doing. Of course, it has to align with the Storytime ethos. So please get in touch, and of course we'll evaluate and see if we should be talking about your product here on Storytime. Thank you so much for joining in. To all the little ones, the lovely ones that are joining us today, always a pleasure. Hugs to you. Welcome to Storytime. Thank you so much for being here. Get comfortable, get cozy, because we're about to get started with our story. Thank you so much for joining in. Always a pleasure to be here with you. Out here in Oakland, it is supposed to be a very hot day today. We're looking at lows of around 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and then highs are getting up to as much as 78. So it will be pretty hot out here in Oakland. Probably t-shirts are the way to go, and maybe lighter t-shirts. Thank you so much for joining in. So if you're in Oakland or around the area, please make sure to dress a little lightly. Light jackets will do today. Thank you so much for joining in, and I hope that everywhere where you are, and whatever part of the country you're in, or part of the world, I hope that you are doing well. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime, whether you're joining us live right now or indeed you join us later for the recordings. And remember too, you can always find Storytime on YouTube as well as Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for joining in. Let's get comfortable, get cozy. I Am My History. Yes, indeed, proud to be Brian Keith Harris and of course CJ Love. Thank you so much for this wonderful book. Get ready, get comfortable. But of course, let us see who is with us this morning, ready to enjoy a wonderful story. Thank you so much for joining in. Good morning to you out in Pittsburgh, sunny Pittsburgh. How are you doing today? Theo, Kate, and of course, Garrick. Thank you for joining us on Storytime. Welcome. Please do stay warm. warm, but glad you're here and happy for you that it is indeed sunny out there. Enjoy it. Thank you so much for being here. And hopefully you get some time to go for a walk or something as well outside. Thank you so much for joining us. Glad you're here. Garrick, Theo, and Kate out in Pittsburgh. Sunny Pittsburgh, I must say. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you. How are you doing today? Yes, indeed. Happy Wednesday, you're saying. We're ready for today's story. Well, Malcolm, welcome to Story Time. Thank you so much for joining in. Terry McLeod Kasweka, thank you for being here on Story Time. Absolutely appreciate it. Thank you for being here. I am glad you're here with us. Yes, indeed. And Terry, just wondering too, because Kasweka sounds like a name from Western Zambia, and that's where my dad is from. So just wondering if Humphrey is Lozi at all. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time today. And if you speak any Lozi, it is one of the hardest Zambian languages to learn, of course. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time. Glad you're here. Terry, Malcolm, welcome to Story Time. Thank you for joining us right here close by in San Leandro. Thank you for being here. I absolutely appreciate you. Good morning to you, Amanda West. How are you doing today? Sarah and Nathan. And you're saying good morning to everybody. Yes, in blue skied Illinois. I love your descriptions of Illinois. I think we should collect them and create a mini book for them. Love it, love it, love it. Blue skied Illinois joining us today. Sarah and Nathan, and of course, Amanda West. Thank you for joining us. And you say, happy Wednesday, Storytime friends. They hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much for joining in. Yes, indeed. And of course, those positive vibes into the world. Thank you so much for joining in. Sarah and Nathan, and of course, Amanda West out in blue skied Illinois. Love it. Thank you for joining us today. Good morning to you, Rocco, Chriselle, and Clay. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Drum roll, please. Good morning to you, Rocky. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time. Oh, absolutely love it. I love it when everybody can join us for Story Time. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for being here. Special welcome to you, Rocky. And of course, Rocco, Clay, and Chriselle, good morning to you as well. Thank you for joining us out in Long Beach, California. Dad gets to enjoy today's reading too. Oh, you are very welcome, and I'm glad that you get to join us for the live. Yes, indeed. Today, I can say good morning to you, Rocco, because you are home. Thank you so much for joining in. Glad you're here on Storytime. Wonderful indeed. Thank you for joining us, Auntie Pam. Chad, how are you doing today? Yes, 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 yes. Good morning to you out in Nakitosh, Louisiana. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. And say, we're going to be in the 70s in Nakitosh. Wow. That is pretty hot. Seems like you and I today are on the same weather wavelength. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Glad you're here. Please do stay cool. Do what you need to. Maybe ice cream day today. Thank you so much for joining in. Chad, Auntie Pam, and of course, we're always going to say good morning to you, Braylon. Thank you for joining in Storytime. Auntie Anne, wherever you are today, good morning to you as well. Thank you so much for joining in. Kia, how are you doing, my dear? Thank you so much for joining us from Oakland. And of course, Betty, thank you so much for joining in. Absolutely love it. I hope you're ready for this wonderful story today. I am my history as we continue to celebrate Black History Month here on Storytime. Thank you so much for joining in. And remember, next week, we're doing some love books. Yes, it is Valentine's week, so we'll be doing something about that as well. Thank you so much for joining in. But here today, I am my history. This one coming to you from Brian Keith Harris II, and illustrations by C.J. Love. Get comfortable, get cozy. We are going to get started immediately after this break. Join me on the other side. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime today.
Hi, my name is Zetta Elliott, and I am the author of 40 books for kids, including Dragons in a Bag and A Place Inside of Me. You're watching Storytime with Mr. LaMotta.
Good morning and welcome back. Thank you for joining in. I am my history. This one from Brian Keith Harris II, and of course, illustrations by C.J. Love. Please do follow them on Instagram and see all the amazing things that they're up to. But of course, Find this book at your local library, and of course, find it where you get books. Thank you so much for joining in. Are you ready for today's story? All right, me too. All right, let us get started for today's story. And of course, do check out Zeta Elliott's latest books. It is out there in the Dragon series. This one is called The Witch's Apprentice. Yes, so if you love that kind of book, please read this one. As you know, Zeta Elliott with amazing books, many amazing books for little ones. Find them at the local library. Ask for Zeta Elliott books. All right, here we go. I am my history. And oh, it's amazing people. Oh, it's amazing ancestors. What names do you see? What do they mean to you? I love this one. I am my history. Walking tall, standing in royalty. Oh, yes. I am my history. Walking tall, standing in royalty. Oh, yes. Stand tall, young man, stand tall. I am a direct descendant of kings and queens who ruled with grace, wisdom, and dignity. Oh, yes. I am a direct descendant of kings and queens who ruled with grace, wisdom, and dignity. Because I am my history. I am my history, a designer, a thinker, a being of creativity. Oh, yes. I am my history, a designer, a thinker, a being of creativity. Oh, yes. I built the pyramids of Egypt with my strength and agility. I mastered math and science so brilliantly. I am my history. I built the pyramids of Egypt with my strength and agility. I mastered math and science so brilliantly. I am my history. I am my history, a child of the diaspora, a survivor of slavery. Oh, yes. I am my history, a child of the diaspora, a survivor of slavery. Oh, yes. For 400 years, I fought to be free, escaping the hands of hatred and captivity. For 400 years, I fought to break free, to be free, escaping the hands of hatred and captivity. I am a powerful source of peace. I am a brave, beautiful light. I am essential to the earth. I am the glimmering hope in the darkness of night. Oh, yes. And you best believe it. I am a powerful source of peace. I am a brave, beautiful light. I am essential to the earth. I am the glimmering hope in the darkness of night. I am my history. I am my history. The injustices of the world did not stop me. I overcame obstacles and beat adversity. I am my history. The injustices of the world did not stop me. I overcame obstacles that beat adversity. and beat adversity. I am my history. I stood up like Martin, Rosa, and Jackie. Oh, yes. I stood up like Martin, Rosa, and Jackie. I am a vision of my ancestors. I am a symbol of love. I am a star in the galaxy. I am a gift from above. Oh, yes. I am a vision of my ancestors. I am a symbol of love. I am a star in the galaxy. I am a gift from above. Yes, you are. I am my history. Walking tall, standing in royalty, I will continue with this legacy, knowing that nothing can stop me. Nothing can stop me. I am my history. Walking tall, standing in royalty, I will continue with this legacy, knowing that nothing can stop me. The end. And that's the author, Brian Keith Harris II. As we said, it's illustrated by CJ Love. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime today. I hope you enjoyed that powerful, powerful book indeed. Affirmations galore, and I hope that it moves you and encourages you, all your little ones out there, to remember that you are special, and especially all of my young black and brown kids out there, to remember that you come from great ancestry. No matter what obstacles the world may put in front of us, we shall overcome indeed. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime today. I hope you enjoyed this one, and all the amazing allies. Thank you for joining in Storytime. We are making steps. We are doing it. Yes, the goodness shall prevail. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. I am glad you are here and absolutely love this book. I am my history. You are your history. Let us move to those histories have paved the way for a future, a bright future. Let us keep that dream of hope, of goodness alive. Indeed, let us shake off all those awful mistakes that have been made in the past, and let us move on into a brighter future where we're all working together to make this world a better place, a wonderful place indeed. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Absolutely appreciate you. Brian Keith Harris with this one, and of course CJ Love. What a way to start our morning. Thank you for being here. I am my history. Thank you so much for joining in as we continue to celebrate Black History Month here on Storytime. Yes, keep being amazing, like Dr. Akila Cadet says. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. I'm glad you're here with me for this one. And of course, we continue with many amazing stories that will just brighten your day, and of course, push you into this day inspired, get you into this day ready to do the work. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. And of course, we are not done. We are back again tomorrow with another exciting story. And this time, we will be reading the story of Mary Walker. And please join me for the oldest student. Yes, this one by Rita Lorraine Hubbard, and illustrations by Augie Mara. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm glad you are here today, but please do join us tomorrow for this wonderful book, The Oldest Student, How Mary Walker Learned to Read. Join me for that one tomorrow, and we'll be right here back on Storytime. Thank you so much for joining in. Let us see who is with us this morning and got to enjoy that wonderful story indeed. One more time, thank you for joining in, Rikia and Betty. Thank you for joining us out here in Oakland. Baby Pia and Amanda, thank you so much for joining in Storytime out in Seattle. Thank you for being here. Absolutely appreciate you. Thank you for joining us on Storytime. Marlon, how are you doing today? And Nate, Thank you for joining us on Storytime. Hope you are having a wonderful time out there, and hope the sun is out today too. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Good morning to you one more time, Pamela, Courtney, and of course Chad. And you're saying so inspiring. Love this book. Must get this book. Absolutely one for our libraries indeed. And of course, find it at your local library, or indeed ask them to get it. I Am My History. I love this one. Thank you so much for joining in. A big thank you to Brian Keith Harris for allowing us to share this wonderful book here on Storytime. A powerful one indeed, a great one to start our morning. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Everybody else that was here, we appreciate you. Kate, how are you doing one more time? Theo, and of course, Garrick, thank you so much for joining us out in Pittsburgh, sunny Pittsburgh today. Good morning to you. How are you doing, Amanda? Where's Sarah and Nathan in Blue Sky, Illinois? I love it. Sounds like a song. Thank you so much for joining in. Happy Wednesday to everybody, you say. Thank you so much for joining us. Malcolm, how are you doing today? Glad you're here for Storytime, and of course joining in with Terry in San Leandro. Thank you so much for joining in. Rocky in the house. Thank you so much for joining us on Storytime. Rocco, Clay, and Chriselle, absolutely appreciate you. Glad everybody was here today for Storytime. Absolutely love it. Good morning to you one more time, Chad, and of course Pam, Auntie Pam, joining us out in Natchitoches, Louisiana. Thank you. Enjoy the warm weather today. Absolutely love it. Hopefully you get to do some more stuff outside. Thank you so much for joining in, everybody. This has been Storytime for today. Of course, we'll see you again tomorrow. God willing, we will be back. More stories, another exciting story, and of course, learning from each other. The oldest student, how Mary Walker learns to read. Yes, this one from Rita Lorraine Harvard and Age Mara. Join us for this one tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. This has been Storytime for today. Much love from me, and of course, wishing you and your loved ones the very best today. Have a wonderful Wednesday. If you're like me here in Oakland, it's a minimum day, so we have a short day at school of fun, learning, and of course fun games and fun interactions. Rikia, you know how we do it in our classroom. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Absolutely love it. Yes, Heather Farah, thank you so much for joining and say we usually miss the live broadcast, but we're up early. Well, welcome. Good morning to you. And you caught a wonderful book indeed. I hope you get to enjoy it. And if you missed the beginning of it, go back to the beginning and enjoy this wonderful story. You can find it on YouTube as well as on our Facebook, and of course find it at your local library. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Glad you are here today. It has been a minute indeed catching you on the live, but I am glad we did today. Thank you so much for joining us out in Oregon. And of course, Heather, Farah, thank you for being here on Storytime. Much love to you and your loved ones. I hope you have a wonderful day, a day of laughs, a day indeed. There'll be bruises here and there, but you know what? We get up, we move on, we keep walking towards that vision of our ancestors. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Oh my goodness, much love to all of you. You bring joy to my heart more than you can imagine, and I hope that we can just share that together, and I hope that your hearts are glad after Storytime. Thank you so much for joining me today. Of course, we'll see you tomorrow. Much love from me. Thankful for another day that we have breath. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy yourselves. Much love from me. Bye-bye.
Brings to life a big smile. You won't live lonely. Won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Read me all of your stories. Read me all of your stories. Some with people who look like me, others very different from the way that I look and think. Read me all of your stories. Read me all of your stories. Some stories from far away, others right here in my neighborhood. Read me all of your stories. Read me all of your stories. Some with people who look like me, others very different from the way that I look and think. Read me all of your stories. Read me all of your stories. Some stories from far away, others right here in my neighborhood. Story time. Ooh. Story time. Story time with Mr. Limata. He will be starting soon. Story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be him. Brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be